Farm Week is a production of the Mississippi State University Extension Service.
Today on Farm Week, the Mississippi State University Extension Service is holding several workshops to help growers figure out the Farm Bill.
RFD-TV sponsors the richest rodeo ever.
Dr. William Bost passed away February 28th. Without him, Farm Week might not be here.
In southern gardening, sedum spheres. Get creative with a hardy plant.
In the markets, December cotton prices have difficulty moving higher as a spreading virus threatens hog expansion for the time being.
In the feature segment, Aquaponics. It integrates aquaculture and hydroponics into one system.
Basically, you feed the fish food. That protein then breaks down into nitrate that can be used by the plants, and the plants strip the nitrate from the water, cleans up the water for the fish, and then the whole cycle continues.
Good day, everyone. I'm Leighton Spann.
And I'm Artist Ford. Welcome to Farm Week.
Many farmers are wondering how to structure their farms in light of the new Farm Bill.
Leighton, to help farmers with this, a total of 6 informational meetings will be conducted by ag economists with the Mississippi State University Extension Service. 2 have already been held, 4 remain. The workshops will cover Title I farm programs and Title XI crop insurance. The seminar is designed for growers, lenders, and others affected by farm programs and crop insurance. The Wednesday, March 12th workshop takes place at MSU Central Mississippi Research and Extension Center at Raymond. The hours are 10:45 to 4:30 p.m. Dairy and specialty crops policy will also be covered at this workshop. Thursday, March 13th, the workshop moves to the Bost Extension Theater on the MSU campus in Starkville. The hour is 1:30 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. Wednesday, March 19th, go to the Carrollton Community House in Carrollton. The hours are 1:30 to 3:30 there as well. The last one will be held Thursday, March 20th at the Lafayette County Extension Service office in Oxford. The time will be 9:45 a.m. to 11:45 a.m.
Sometimes it seems some people just have more artistic talent than others. In this week's Southern Gardening segment, Extension horticulturist Dr. Gary Bachman shows us how to produce beautiful living garden art with sedums.
There are many times I see beautiful garden art and I say to myself, why can't I be that creative? But it's really not that hard once you know the secrets. The perfect example I'm talking about is this beautiful living garden ball. Today I'm at Rivers Greenhouse and Garden, where Rhonda is going to share the construction steps. The first step is to create the growing sphere. It's easy using 2 wire hanging baskets with cocoa core liners. Each half is filled with potting mix for cactus and blonde sphagnum peat moss, and then flip the 2 halves together to form a sphere. Hold everything together with plastic zip ties. Your local garden center will have a collection of sedums and succulents to choose from. Planting comes next. Small plugs like these are easy to handle. Simply cut a slice in the cocoa core liner and push the plug through. Now comes the design step. Be sure to mix up the planting pattern and try and make it look random. You can even take cuttings and stick these directly through the cocoa core into the potting mix where they will have no trouble rooting. Your newly planted sedum ball will look like this, and with a little patience and time, it'll be ready to proudly display. And these are easy to care for. Just be careful to not overwater them. Once you see how easy it is to make charming garden art, I'm sure your landscape will be filled with cosmic creativity this summer. I'm horticulturist Gary Bachman for Southern Gardening.
Gary says sedums are tough. They are a preferred plant when businesses decide to plant large rooftop gardens on buildings.
A man who had a profound influence on Mississippi agriculture in the 1960s and 1970s has passed away. Dr. William Bost died Friday, February 28th at the age of 90. He is survived by his wife of 71 years, Elaine, and 5 of his 6 children. Bost is most remembered for serving as the director from 1962 to 1981 of what was known then as the Mississippi Cooperative Extension Service. The Ecru, Mississippi native earned a bachelor's degree from Mississippi State, a master's degree from Cornell, and a doctorate from the University of Mississippi. He started his extension career as an assistant county agent in Calhoun County in 1951. The Bost Extension Center on the Mississippi State University campus is named in his honor. Bost is remembered for being proactive in making sure that the Extension Service served the needs of Mississippians. Progressive Farmer magazine named him its Man of the Year in 1980. Also in 1980, Mississippi Governor William Waller named him an outstanding Mississippian for serving both rural and urban citizens' needs. Bost served in the U.S. Navy during World War II. The following soundbite is from the fall of 1980 after a growing season beset by a terrible drought. Bost made some predictions about 1981.
Going into the year and moved into we're going to have a good crop year next year, and we're going to have pretty good prices for stuff in the state next year. Things are looking better. They've got to look better or we're going to be out of business. I say that very fondly because a lot of our farmers are hurting very much this year. If we can have a good crop year, price outlook is much better. We're talking about soybeans at $8.25 a bushel, or a little better now. Light feeder calves at 88 or 90 cents a pound. Cotton at about 80 cents a pound. If you can plan on this basis and for prices at this level, and if we can get a good year, I think we at least have much better prospects at this time of the year than we did at this time last year.
And Layton, why are we talking about Bill Bost, a man who retired back in 1981? He was the director when Farmweek started in 1977. And he saw the vision. It was at that time a co-production of Mississippi Public Television and the Extension Service. But he saw the vision for television, he saw the vision for video. And if Farmweek has helped you or you've enjoyed it, thank Bill Bost.
That's right.
Well, we're going to be moving on to the markets with Layton in just a few moments. But coming up today in our feature segment, Aquaponics. It's a marriage of plant production and aquaculture. The water from the fish is used to provide moisture and nutrients to plants. The plants in turn clean up the water before it's returned to the fish. And Layton?
This past weekend, Farm Week was on the road. In Arlington, Texas, the world's largest, richest one-day rodeo was taking place inside AT&T Stadium, better known maybe as the home of the NFL Dallas Cowboys. The event, known as RFD-TV's The American, featured the best rodeo athletes in the world. Across the street from the stadium was the RFD-TV Fan Zone, and Farm Week was invited to take part as one of the many exhibitors from all around the country. In addition to representatives from most of the individual programs seen on RFD-TV, such as Farm Week, the Fan Zone featured live entertainment on the outdoor RFD-TV stage. Other available activities included horsemanship training from some of the best names in the business in the RFD-TV round pen on site. And there was even an area for the youngsters to practice their steer roping technique before trying it with a live animal. And of course, any type of equipment or gear associated with the equine industry or rodeo activities was either on display or for sale in the Fan Zone. The overall winner of the RFD-TV The American and a $1 million check was Richmond Champion. Our congratulations to him. He was the top contestant in the bareback riding event.
And it was good. We saw people from Mississippi. We saw a Farm Week fan, a cattleman from Wyoming, who said he watches all the time.
And we appreciate everyone that we had a chance to talk with out there.
For those of you who watch us on RFD-TV. Well, time now for the markets. And Layton, you say it's almost time for the monthly supply-demand reports again.
That's right. Monday, March 10th is the day. In the meantime, we are following these stories for you in the markets. Wheat finds support in the Ukraine unrest. The spreading PEDv virus may limit hog expansion as boxed beef prices for both select and choice cuts move higher. More than 1/5 of our world's wheat sales come out of the Black Sea region. So needless to say, traders are watching the events in Ukraine very closely. Interrupted shipments of wheat from Ukraine could lead to increased demand for U.S. grain. Wheat futures have climbed to their highest level since early December. Turning to cotton, futures there are trading with modest gains Thursday morning, March 6th, as we produce this program. AgFacts.com says that weekly export sales data came in well above expectations Thursday and provided some price support. Prices do remain volatile as the demand situation in China remains uncertain. Doan's commentary reports that even though futures are poised to test previous highs, long-term fundamentals for cotton are said to be bearish. Let's move to our trivia quiz, and this week it concerns the declining number of folks working in U.S. production agriculture. Today, about 2% or less of the population is farming. Here's the question for you. How much of the U.S. population was involved in farming in 1950? That's 64 years ago. Is the answer 7% or 16% or 22% or 35%? I'll tell you here at the end of the markets.
We're going to pause for a short break on Farm Week. Coming up, we'll look at the calendar and the rest of the markets. Leighton Spann reports the PEDv virus is affecting hog herd expansion and the cattle on feed supply is tight. In the feature segment today, aquaponics. It takes aquaculture to another level.
Each year, many Mississippians are seriously injured or killed when farm tractors overturn. One cause of these accidents is improper hitching. If a tractor is hitched at any point above the drawbar, it can flip over backwards. Never hitch a tractor using the bar between the three-point hitch upper and lower links or at the top link attachment point. The stationary drawbar is the only safe location for tractor hitching. A message from the Mississippi State University Extension Service.
Before we get back to the markets, let's look at the Farm Week calendar. A Beef Mythbusters workshop for cattlemen will be held Tuesday, March 11th in 5 locations in Mississippi. Locations are the Bost Theater, Mississippi State University, Starkville, the MSU Central Mississippi Research and Extension Center at Raymond, the Forest County Extension Service Office in Hattiesburg, the Lafayette County Extension Service Office in Oxford, and the Pike County Extension Service Office in Magnolia. Genetics, reproduction, and marketing are on the agenda. Mississippi State University is hosting a 2-day training on large animal rescue. It takes place Saturday and Sunday, March 29th and 30th. The location is the MSU-ES Center on the south side of campus in Starkville. The cost is $75. Participants will learn how to safely rescue large animals involved in accidents and disasters. The course is designed for emergency responders, veterinarians, and livestock handlers. 12 hours of veterinary continuing education credits are available. Go to our Farm Week website at farmweek.msucares.com for information on these and other events. Now check out this week's Farm Week Snapshot.
One big topic of discussion at this weekend's National Pork Industry Forum is the highly contagious porcine epidemic diarrhea virus, better known as PED. Trader Walt Hackney says the spreading virus that kills piglets could push hog futures higher while definitely limiting U.S. herd expansion.
They're not going to do much expanding in the hog operations until they get some kind of control on the treatment of this PED virus. And the opportunity for it, if it isn't controlled, is for it to take out of our total market hog herd 5% this year. Now that's enormous in terms of hog nomenclature. And it's a huge amount to come out of. That brings it from like 2.25–2.10 million a week. That'll drop you down to around 1.7 million.
Tight supplies continue to be the story in the cattle sector as the month of March gets underway. Extension Ag economist Brian Williams answered some questions about one of the important monthly barometers of this livestock market. Brian, our latest cattle on feed numbers pertain to the month of January. Was there anything that really stood out to you as significant in that report?
Well, to run through the numbers, our Number on feed was down about 2.8%, and our marketings were down about 5.5%, and those weren't too surprising. But where the big surprise is in our placements, and they were up about 8.6%, and that's compared to the expectation of 2.8%.
Now, I know you told me before we started recording you've been trying to see maybe what the basis of that was, and it's still not exactly clear, is it?
Well, there's a lot of things that could be playing into it. What we really think is the biggest factor is the markets. The prices were really spiking in January. Our boxed beef, our feeder cattle were all spiking in January. And so what it really looks like is that's what the markets were calling for, was more feeder cattle in the feedlots.
All right, well, I know when we talked about cattle about a month ago, there was a lot of commentary analysis out there that wholesale beef may have climaxed, reached its top. What have we seen in the last 4 or 5 weeks in that regard?
Well, we've seen them come back down a little bit, but over the last couple weeks they've been recovering. Right now, last week they were trading an average of $2.18 per hundredweight, which was up $7 a hundredweight for the week before, but they're still not anywhere near where they were in January.
And on the retail side, some pushback, any at all going on from the price picture?
Not particularly. The consumption isn't as high as we'd like, but there's a lot of other factors playing into that. There's the cold weather and the snowstorms that are keeping people out of the restaurants, keeping them out of the backyards grilling and those sorts of things. But price-wise, there's really not been a lot of pushback.
Now, briefly on the other side, feeder cattle market, what's been happening there in the last few weeks?
Well, they've been real strong as well, the feeder cattle have, and that's despite some of the cold weather and those sorts of things. And corn prices have also been coming up, but it looks like the supplies are really driving that market and helping to boost our feeder prices.
And last quick question, calf prices, how are they looking as we move through the year here?
Well, again, they're remaining strong. Another report had come out on our cattle numbers, and the numbers were down slightly, down 1% from a year ago. So the supplies are just real tight, and so that looks good for our calf prices going forward as well.
Before our feature story, let's check the trivia answer for this week, and the correct choice is B. In 1950, about 16% of the U.S. population was directly involved in farming.
Our feature segment today combines aquaculture and hydroponics. It's called Aquaponics. The ancient Aztecs in Mexico may have been some of the first to try it. You'll meet a Midwestern entrepreneur who first looked at aquaponics as a hobby, but he's ramped up his operation since. Market to Market's Josh Bittner explains.
You may not envision fish tanks on the prairie as the best place to look for added value amidst large agricultural operations. Nevertheless, some folks in America's heartland are giving it a try. Whether it's a hobby developed during the off-season or an entrepreneurial foray into niche markets, sustainable, self-sufficient aquaponics systems are hatching in some unexpected locations. Though history suggests a rudimentary form of aquaponics existed in ancient civilizations, the modern blending of aquaculture and hydroponics has increased steadily since the late 1990s. Industry standards were developed at the University of the Virgin Islands, where the warm climate facilitated large-scale operations. Further north, though, the use of indoor aquaponics as a hedge against extreme summer heat doesn't seem that far-fetched to some. The symbiotic closed-loop method offers the opportunity to turn a small profit by growing crops typically cultivated in other regions of the country.
Aquaponics is popular as a concept now and is going to be popular as an industry practice very soon. I would say in the next 20 years we're going to have a lot of our produce in the Midwest coming from aquaponics.
Higher education has continued research into the science of this hybrid discipline. Promising scenarios have emerged for one-time curiosities to evolve into viable green operations.
Aquaponics is a synergistic relationship between plants and fish. Basically, you feed the fish food. That protein then breaks down into nitrate that can be used by the plants, and the plants strip the nitrate from the water, cleans up the water for the fish, and then the whole cycle continues.
An emphasis on education and conservation are central to the mission of the Leopold Center for Sustainable Agriculture. Located on the campus of Iowa State University, the center seeks to reduce negative environmental impacts associated with farming and develop new revenue streams for producers. Leopold Center funding supports extension outreach efforts like those of fisheries and aquaculture specialist Alan Patillo. He and other instructors educate and advise students and the public on the science, economics, and marketing aspects of sustainable aquaculture.
A lot of people wonder, how do you grow plants in water whenever you can overwater a plant and it starts to die? Well, the reason is we maintain a higher oxygen concentration in the water than you would be able to maintain in the soil. You get very fast growth rates out of the plants, but you also get two products, fish and plants, and the combination of those two can make you more profitable.
All kinds of plants can be grown in this environment, though herbs and leafy greens currently are the most common crop. And for those lured to try their luck raising fish, a certain African species just might be the perfect catch.
Okay, he's a good size.
Right now we're using the Nile tilapia, and that's a very popular species to use for aquaponics. It's very easy to grow. It has a lot of tolerance to poor water quality, which for a beginning fish farmer might be an issue for them.
Who's the TV star today?
Iowa State Extension helps local producers kickstart operations that seek value in the spaces between the traditional monoculture of corn and soybeans. Earl and Jeff Hafner operate Early Morning Harvest near Panora, Iowa. The father-son team says for generations in their family, farming is the only life they've ever known. Firmly rooted in their role as stewards of the land, the Hafners began to incorporate their vision of sustainability over a decade ago.
The whole farm's organic. Small grains, the wheat, the rye, the buckwheat, corn, soybeans, and also the pasture and forage for the cattle, because the cattle's organic. We have to protect the environment. You know, every farmer out here, you know, the soil's his life. You know, the plants and the animals are his life. Anything that destroys the environment would destroy his livelihood or his kids' future's livelihood.
After discovering aquaponics, Hafner helped pass his free time while serving in the military overseas by reading up on the subject. Upon returning to Iowa, he expected to simply start a new hobby.
What intrigued me the most is Grandma was a big gardener. I always liked the garden. However you plant your garden, and as most people know, then you have to go plant your corn and soybeans. You come back 30, 40 days later, and you about know what your garden looks like.
Noting the crucial value of water during his stint in the Middle East validated the importance of conservation to Hafner, and aquaponics presented an opportunity to keep precious resources from going to waste.
What I like about it is technically the only way water leaves this greenhouse is evaporation and transpiration. And that's the sustainable part of it. As water, we're in a drought now. As the world population gets bigger, water is the huge issue. We've been blessed here in the Midwest. We might experience some of how tough it is down in Texas and some of those places.
After receiving a grant from Iowa State to continue his work in aquaponics, Hafner took a hard look at the economics of the endeavor.
If you wanted to raise cattle, you went to the banker and said, I'm going to raise 100 head of cattle. He knew there's industry standards, he knew the numbers. And when I was looking at the numbers, it was tough to find numbers on it. So that's where I said, I'll open my books up. And my first year was rough.
Despite initial hurdles, Early Morning Harvest pressed on, learning from its mistakes. Refining methods over time allowed the Hafners to share their newfound expertise with others.
If you have a CSA and it's a 2/3, 3/4 of a year type operation, you could add a small aquaponics greenhouse to help fill the gap. Maybe keep your labor year-round that way.
The free-flowing exchange of ideas has helped this growing field build momentum. For those dipping their toes into new markets that could be lucrative, Iowa State offers online resources as well. The Agricultural Marketing Resource Center and the National Market Maker site present information on business planning and connecting with buyers.
If you're a small producer, you can find all those people within the community that are interested in getting your product, and they can see you. One of the nice things about aquaponics is that you can start very small and scale it up. find your customer, find your client that's going to want your product, and as you've seen in this kind of system, you can create extremely high value products.
For Market to Market, I'm Josh Bittner.
And you can watch this story again on Aquaponics on our Farmweek website, Facebook page, or YouTube. The website is farmweek.msucares.com. We'll also have a link to the Market to Market website where you can see the story as well and read the script. You can also find us on Twitter at twitter.com/farmweek. Well, we are at the end of Farm Week for this week. On our next show, you'll see the old and the new.
We'll have 2 feature stories for you. You've heard about the drought in California. Well, you'll see how bad it really is.
Want to encourage wild turkeys on your timberland? We'll tell you some simple tips to keep in mind.
In Southern gardening, have any junk around your house? Well, it could be a creative way to display sedums in your landscape.
For the rest of the Farm Week crew, I'm Artis Ford.
And I'm Leighton Spann. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.